All right, my name is Ross Cessna. The first thing that I really wanted to say is thank you all for being here. It means a lot to somebody who, with my personal story, I have dual diagnosis as well. I have a lot of respect for you all. I have love for all of you too, regardless of political affiliation, religious stuff, any of those things. None of it matters to me. Sexual orientation, gender. I don't care about that. I love you all because you're people. I might not like all of you, but that's a different story. And one of the things I'd like to say is I'd like you to give me the same attention that you would give me if you pulled me over and thought I had a car full of drugs and a gun. Because the gun part never would have been part of my story, but there was definitely a time where you would have got some drugs on me. So a little bit about me. I'm a recovering addict. I have 13 months clean of all substances. And I also have a history of bipolar disorder, or manic depression, which is a more accurate description of what it is, borderline personality disorder, psychosis, anxiety, stuff of that nature. I'd like to read a quote by Carrie Fisher, and this is really fitting for me. I am mentally ill. I can say that. I am not ashamed of that. I have survived that. I am still surviving it, but bring it on. For me, my life was always pretty chaotic, and there's an example from my early childhood, one of my very earliest memories, that's a good summary of my life in general. I grew up on a farm in Columbiana, and there was a cement porch that I had, and then to the left of the porch there was this clawfoot bathtub that was filled with goldfish. I can remember turning around and trust falling backwards into it, and disturbing the tranquility by my own impulsive actions. I've always been an impulsive person. And another good example would be this early childhood dream I had, and it was being in a car, being in the back seat of the car going down the road and trying to get the steering wheel, but not being able to, and this car just being out of control. My life was very chaotic. Suicide of my aunt very early on, parents divorced early on, dad remarried. Couldn't really find my balance, had a lot of allergies, and with addiction too, before I ever picked up a substance, that self-obsession, egomaniac, desire for attention, all of that stuff was present. I can remember also manipulating situations from a very early age, and it really set me up for a lot of trouble. My first interaction with the police, it was the fall of my 6th grade year, and I had vandalized stuff the previous summer because I couldn't sleep. I've always had sleeping issues up until within the past year or so, and the way that I dealt with that was go out and vandalize the neighborhood. Needless to say, that wasn't a very good experience. Shortly thereafter, I started using substances. I had tried beer before then, but that's when I first smoked pot, 7th grade or so. Got into pot and alcohol. First time I really drank, blacked out. And that's the thing with mental illness. Mental illness leads people to have a higher rate of addiction. And then if people fall into addiction, they have a higher rate of mental illness. So I was in this giant whirlwind of behaviors that built upon one another. I got put into rehab my junior year of high school. Completed that by the skin of my teeth, jumped through hoops. Beginning of my senior year, I got arrested with pot in school, put into juvenile drug court. It's supposed to be a 9-month program. I was there for a year and a half, in and out of JJC in Mahoning County. Then after that, just kind of drifted through life. I'm just going to fast forward it for the sake of everything. I had a lot of interactions with cops. I left this area. And there's this one story that really sticks out, which is something that is very valid to me. When I left this area, I drove to Las Vegas for my externship. At one point, my car died in New Mexico because my buddy and I had been doing drugs all night. We drove the car till it broke down, essentially, till the battery died, rather. And we had to get the car jumped in this gas station. Nobody would jump the car for us. All these people that are supposed to be respectable, reputable citizens, nobody would jump the car for us. Eventually, this gentleman pulled up in this raggedy van with these bald tires. The tires were falling apart. He was changing one bald tire for the other one. And this dude actually gave my buddy and I a jump. And I asked him if he wanted any money for it, like a soda or something. I had pot on me at the time too. I was like, "Do you want some pot?" He's like, "No, I don't even smoke weed anymore. I only do crystal meth." And like even to this day, it blows my mind because I always had this concept of drug addicts being completely lecherous people that would stab you in the back at a heartbeat. But the only person that would help me was a drug addict. None of the people that had like all these crosses on their cars or any of this stuff would give me the time of day. And that still sticks with me. In Vegas, obviously not a very good place for a person with mental illness, drug addiction. And the thing too, my addiction isn't just relative to drugs, it's to women, it's to money, it's to anything pleasurable. I will chase pleasure to my own destruction at the cost of anything. I have a history of being a liar, a thief, and a cheat. Those aren't behaviors that I act on anymore because I'm really working towards becoming a better individual, because that's how I want to show up to life. Fast forward again, moved around a bunch because I was running from myself. I didn't like me. I've never really liked me, never felt comfortable in my skin, never could really fit in. Lots of interactions with police. The interactions with police out west were a lot better than the ones here because the way that they treated me like a human being and showed me respect, and they didn't really use as many fear tactics as the ones do back here. Just my experience. I'm not saying that that's the regular thing, but through those experiences out there, I began to see police as individuals, as people where they're capable of good or bad just like anybody else. And I'm grateful for that experience to be able to see police as individuals because there are some really great people that do what you do, and you people really do help a lot of people. There's also a lot of you that I just wouldn't like, which is cool. I don't expect you to like me. Anyhow, I'm going to get into real quick what the mental illness was like for me. So, manic depression or bipolar disorder. Depression obviously is not wanting to get out of bed, not wanting to do anything, not finding any joy in life, nothing making you happy, the things that you enjoy doing not being enjoyable to you anymore. And it's not something where it's like, get up and just go do it. It's like, I physically don't have the energy to do anything that I love and nothing has any meaning to me. Now, mania, in my experience, is the exact opposite of that. It's everything is incredibly meaningful. I cannot sleep. I will have a year's worth of thoughts in a minute. I feel that I have superpowers, things along those lines. And it can be very dangerous for me as well, especially if I'm using substances, because that can lead me to reckless behavior, unprotected sex with dangerous women, doing more drugs than I should be. Not that I should be doing drugs to begin with, but doing more drugs than I normally would, drinking more than I normally would. And a lot of times when I got myself into precarious situations, it was during more manic phases of my illness. Now, I also said that I have borderline personality disorder. Borderline personality disorder is similar to bipolar in some senses, but it's on a more day-to-day thing, and it's these mood shifts, and it's directly related to interpersonal relationships. And the easiest way for me to describe that would be really black and white thinking about somebody. Like, say that I just met this gentleman and he's been pretty cool to me. I can be like, oh, what a great guy. He can do one thing and I could think he's the scum of the earth. And as you could probably assume, that's very difficult in a work environment. Romantic relationships, that's very difficult. Any kind of meaningful relationship or friendship, that can be incredibly difficult. Needless to say, that created a lot of problems for me, again, with the other mental illnesses and the substances. Pretty devastating combination there. Anxiety. Anxiety to me is thinking everybody's staring at me when nobody is, feeling like I cannot get any calm, feeling like my skin is crawling, feeling like I can't breathe, feeling like my heart is going to stop beating. I think that that's the best way I can describe those things. And as far as what psychosis was like for me, I wrote a poem because it's easier to describe something nonsensical in this format, and just try to conceive what it would be like to literally believe these things that I'm about to say as a reality. Like you were in this situation, and now these things that I'm about to say are things that you believed. I have been on the front lines of a war, me against the world, in the confines of my room. 4 walls covered with nicotine and heartbreak. I sat as a living replica in a museum in honor of the one who ended the world, me. I've been on a global reality TV show where I am the living, breathing punchline. I communed with Viking gods through fire. I challenged assassins on my porch. I held my ground when I knew all the evil in existence was coming to my doorstep. I have survived my girlfriend scanning my body for alien implants. I gambled away the world and upped the ante to the universe. I have lived in a Truman Show-like world where everyone is acting. I have lived in a world where every sight, sound, and smell had layers of meaning upon it. I have learned that you cannot kill me. You may break my body, you may destroy my mind, but me, the spark of the divine, you cannot touch. I am eternal. And the last part is one of the things that I've learned through this, because with the situations I've been in life, I should be dead. With the way that the places my mind have taken me, I should not be able to have a relatively well-ordered conversation. I shouldn't feel comfortable in this. And the first time that I spoke in this capacity over a year ago, it was somewhat terrifying to express these things. One of the things that I've found through my experience of all of this is people's perception of me is a reflection of them. So if y'all are showing me respect and actually giving me the respect that I deserve for coming here on my own time, then I have a lot of respect for you. And if a lot of you are taking this as a joke, that's honestly on you. It has nothing to do with me. And that's one of the greatest tools that I've learned is people act towards you, that's them. Again, I just want to say I thank you. If anybody has any questions, anything that they would like to ask me, any insight and anything I can offer you, feel free. Yes, sir.
I might have missed this a little bit before, but how are you taking? I know I recall the different diagnoses that you've been in, and along with the other side of it being some of the uses of substances. With some of the diagnoses that you have been through, have you done counseling or stuff like that, or take medication?
So I was in therapy for a while. I was on medication. My psychiatrist said that the habits that I've cultivated in my personal life now are adequate where I can be off the medication. So what that is for me is I go to a 12-step group on a regular basis because I get a lot of support from there, because a lot of people with addiction issues have a lot of mental health issues, and a lot of those things are best suited in group therapy. I also meditate, do yoga, I do Tai Chi, I exercise, I write a lot. I have a very full life. Diet's important to me, sleep schedule. It's a lot more difficult to maintain my mood by doing all those things, but also medication really limits my ability to show up for life like I'd like to. But I also would say that medication is very important, and it was crucial for me finding my balance and getting my head back onto a point where I could cultivate those other habits and develop the self-discipline necessary to move forward and not be stuck in my past. Thank you. Anybody else?